Tonight's game was a dogfight for the division lead. Emerson Hancock and Jeffrey Springs faced off, and Cal Raleigh won it for the Mariners off the bench. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. The Mariners beat the A's 5-3 in an absolute dogfight to hold on to the division lead tonight. The A's would have taken us just by a tiny bit in win percentage because they played 2 more games, and they would have been 21-16, where we would have been 20-15. But we stay 7 games above 500, while they are only 3 games above 500. Very excellent. And it's crazy to just to see it that way. But it's the late one here on the West Coast. This game ended a few hours ago, but I want to make sure I get these recaps up on the nightly basis now. So starting with the pitching matchup, Emerson Hancock is a complete contact merchant now. 87.7 average exit velocity here through a sinker, changeup, slider, 4-seam, sweeper. Getting only 7 whiffs on 71 pitches, 7 swinging strikes. 2 whiffs on that sinker on 31. Not a whiff pitch. I've been saying that sinker is the death of Emerson Hancock, has been forever. And funny enough, it's still getting hit hard. 95.7 mile an hour average exit velocity on the sinker. Emerson Hancock's sinker is absolute trash, and it's my least favorite pitch on the Mariners. It's my least favorite pitch in the major leagues right now. Not only because it's so bad, but because it ruins a guy who I think would have so much upside without it. Change up, you get 3 on 18. It's not too bad. This 1 out of every 6. If you're to carry that sort of swing strike rate, between 15 and 20%, like 18%, something like that. That would be extremely elite. But Emerson, that changeup, I think, just plays so well at the sinker because it's the only thing that that he's throwing that's really deceptive at all. So he really has to rely on that. He gets the 3 whiffs on only 18 of them. I'd love to see more of that, and kind of what Tyler Anderson did, Bizarro World, where he was throwing mostly changeups as his main pitch. And I'd almost like to see Emerson Hancock do that, rather than doing the sinker thing that he's doing, being a sinker, slider, tinker guy, which doesn't work out for him, and doesn't work out for most of these guys, including Bryce Miller, who we talked about. Who had an unfortunate result in Game 1 of this series. Then that slider also gets 2 whiffs on 13. So you've got some swing and miss potential on the off speeds. You've got a 4-seam that, although you didn't get any whiffs, you only threw it 7 times. You got 2 swings on it. Guys want to swing at that. That fastball still has some rise. I just don't know why they're so scared of that, because the sinker gets crushed anyway. How can the 4-seam fastball be any worse? I would just love to see one start where he prioritizes that 4-seam fastball, throws that about 31 times, throw the changeup. Literally, if you switch the sinker and the 4-seam out, I would be happy with this start, even if the results were the same. Just because I'd say we're going in the right direction, but I can't say that here. 7 4-seams thrown, no 2 swings, no whiffs, 2 sweepers thrown, no whiffs on that. 87.7 is a good average exit velocity because Emerson Hancock still has some pitchability. And he had his 2nd straight quality start in this one. Actually, maybe his 3rd. I'd have to check that. But he's really just a kind of a merchant of, like I talked about with Luis Castillo, professional pitching. Just somebody who gets really pissed off, tired of sucking, as Walker Buehler said in an interview earlier this year. And a guy who just goes out and finds a way to win. Really competitive, just being, ultimate competitor type. A lot of Marco Gonzalez, in that. Will that work for Emerson Hancock? I hope not, because I hope that the 6'5", 6'4", guy with a ton of potential can be more than a sinker, slider, tinker guy, especially as a starting pitcher. But moving on to the other side, you had Jeffrey Springs, who is a strikeout artist. He had 10 whiffs on 98 pitches. And 92.6 mile an hour average exit velocity for Jeffrey Springs, and I think that's pretty indicative. Just a little over 90, with 90 kind of being average. Over 90 is above average, and below average for a starting pitcher, and then above average, good for a starting pitcher would be below 90. So Jeffrey Springs, obviously, quality of contact going to be bad against him. Hasn't had that since he came back from Tommy John. 4 whiffs each on the slider and the changeup, 33 and 25 of those respectively, and then 2 on the 4-seam. I had Jeffrey Springs on one of my fantasy teams this year. I dropped him. I don't think that the stuff is quite that interesting, where you can really believe, even though he was a Cy Young contender for about a month or two at one point. I think it was like 5 starts a year or two ago. Since he's come back from Tommy John, I just don't think he's that type of pitcher. He just hasn't shown the ability to have that type of upside. So I think he's more of a, in the top 50% of starting pitchers, sure. So he might be like a good number 3 option for a solid number 3 option at the deadline if he really figures it out for some team. He would have to do so well, to be a top half of the rotation arm, in my opinion. This is what his arsenal is going to look like. The 4-seam has 16 IBB. Jeffrey Springs and his fastball gets some decent vertical break, but nothing special. If that 4-seam's only getting 2 whiffs when he throws it 29 times, and he can't rely on it, he has to go slider primary. I have no belief that Jeffrey Springs is going to be, a really useful pitcher for fantasy or to follow in general. And then you have to talk about this because, this is just a dogfight of a game. 2-2. Each team scores in the first inning. Us via Julio home run. Crushed it to center field. 950 XBA on that. 407 feet, 106.5 mile an hour average exit velocity. 106.5 mile an hour exit velocity on that one. 21 out of 30 ballparks this would have gone out in. Then 79.1 was the bat speed. That's kind of something new that StatCast is tracking that people haven't really figured out how to read yet. So we're all figuring that out together. And then the A's scored on a walk and then a single. And I guess they scored on that. And then that was the first inning. Second inning, we score again by a Miles Mastrobuoni double. Miles Mastrobuoni 2 for 2 doubles. And he looks like he's just more comfortable right now, both running the bases. He had to dig for one of them at least that I saw. And then, just hitting the ball pretty well as well. Although the expected batting average on that first one was only 210, so did get a little bit of luck there. Ben Williamson, his expected batting average is pretty good. 920 was his single in this game. Obviously, doesn't mean too much overall, but he's a guy who the expected stats really like. Just to check, Ben Williamson is hitting 254 right now. Only a 622 OPS. That's finally come considerably down. His expected batting average is one of the few things that's good about his profile, now that it's normalized a bit at 266. However, that whiff percentage is also 20. Not too bad. And then sprint speed, 77th percentile. Just hasn't qualified for the batting statistics. Only 13th in outs above average on the fielding end when he was supposed to be a great glove first option. I don't know. I have watched him and seen him make some excellent plays in the field, and then all the fielding stats seem to hate him. So I'm pretty interested by that. To be honest, I've seen him make some good diving, really good heads up instinctual plays. I'm not sure about his range and overall athleticism. However, he is still going to be in that bottom of the lineup as long as he can continue to put up hits. Today, 1 for 4 with a run, 2 strikeouts, no walks. Not ideal. That OPS, can't be 622 forever if you want to keep that starting job. But while we really need that filling at third base this season, because we didn't plan out very well, and Demo was the only guy who could make that throw to begin the season. Miles Mastrobuoni took several weeks to get a hit. He's short up third base. He's been consistent there. and I think he's going to be the option until we can find a better one in the trade market and going forward. Miles Mastrobuoni, though, I'm going to have him be the player of the game offensively, even though Julio had that home run, went 3 for 4. Great game for Julio, 3 hard hits. This is exactly what it looks like when Julio starts heating up, although it's very hard to predict and it's very sporadic. Rivas also pinch hit. Dan Wilson is so good at using his bench, I have to say. Donovan Solano going 1 for 3, striking out. Even his average is coming up a little bit to 148. Then Rowdy Tellez coming in, even though he's struck out twice, there's only 2 at-bats. I just like the way that he uses the bench. And then finally, what won us the game, bringing Cal Raleigh off the bench as Mitch Garver catches, allows some stolen bases that I saw. Cal Raleigh, he had Mitch, he had a throw that was right in front of JP, that easy one for Cal. And he had one that he sailed into the outfield too. So actually, that I think that was the same one. It bounced in front of JP and then it went to the outfield. Anyway, Cal comes off the bench, pinch hitting, and delivers an absolute clutch single, 2 RBI single that wins us the game. After we scored, at least that sealed the game for us. No, that did win the game. Sorry. And then Demo added the insurance run after. My memory's a little bit fuzzy. It's getting late here on the West Coast. So I will see you guys tomorrow. We beat them on expected batting average 260 to 226. My predictions for tomorrow's game. Anything we want to look at ahead to tomorrow. Finally, we're back ahead on these videos, so we get to look at the preview. Brian Wu starting again, man. I'm going to go double-digit strikeouts for Brian Wu. I just think it's time. I think he's going to be going for strikeouts. He's quietly putting together a very awards contender-worthy season. I'm very excited to see. His stats are so good this year so far. 87.5 is the average exit velocity against him. Hancock's only 87.7 today. Hard hit percentage only 36.6. That's extremely low. The expected batting average against 215. Hitters are going to die against him. And then the expected slugging only 350. That walk percentage at 4.8 under 5% is just elite, especially for a guy with a 25.9% strikeout rate. It's the way he's controlling the game. And just watch the way that Bryce Miller pitches, especially in person, versus the way that Brian Wu pitches. Brian Wu, it feels like an ace is taking the breath out of the air. And with Bryce Miller, he needs to learn a little bit. But thankfully, we have a chance to win this series. So the way we win this series, again, the A's hit the ball hard here. You hit that ball hard, and you see how far you can get it. With that being said, we've been good at blooping the ball as well, so we'll see what approach that in lineup that Dan Wilson comes out with tomorrow. Oh, and the story of the game, I can't believe I almost forgot to address this. Jorge Polanco made some excellent plays in the field, was playing in the field at second base, and hit from the right side. All he had to do there against Jeffrey Springs to make him uncomfortable was be a statue. And then Jeffrey Springs, he has to maybe foul off 1 or 2 pitches to keep the count alive after taking 2 strikes. But Polanco can just take pitches from that right side. Because what I want you guys to know about Jorge is that from that right side, he's even better at contact hitting, has an even more level swing than from the left side, from what I remember from 2019 and 20 at least. Don't kill me if this is wrong, because this is based on my own evaluations. And then also, he has a better eye. He's more comfortable from that right side. So although he's been extremely comfortable, has that, he barely walks because he just has been hitting the ball so well, but only strikes out 12% of the time as well. I think he's going to walk more from that right side because he's still not quite as comfortable swinging there yet, but I expect him to, as he walks from that side quite a bit more, his walk rate overall is going to rise. I expect that he's going to be slapping those balls off. And when you see him slap those balls off from the right side, that's my favorite version of Jorge Polanco that I've ever seen, other than this April. So I'm extremely excited for what the future can bring. If he can do what he did tonight, I think he can be one of the, become more versatile and become, the everyday player we think he can. That version of Jorge Polanco can be, especially in this career resurgent year that it looks like he's having. A top 50 player in the MLB. I think he can be an all-star this year again. Absolutely. Anyway, with the A's, you just got to stay away from the top of that order. The bottom gets pretty dicey. And also, Jacob Wilson. I mean, he's going to make contact. I don't know what to do with this guy. That guy's going to be an all-star in my book. Just to watch him play the game. Let alone that 329 XPA and that insane batting average he has. With that being said, that's going to do it for me tonight. Have a chance to win this series tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Peace out. Go M's.